People who have died or had a near-death experience, how did it affect your views on religion or an afterlife? I was in an airplane that was going down. I went through the mental stages of dying, said a prayer, didn't help. At the end, I felt peace and acceptance, and a very calm. Then the controls unlocked and we just managed to pull out. I don't fear death after that. I was hit by a car, and I remember my memories flashing all in an instant, and then everything went white. That emptiness of white scares me. I got hit by a car, and there was nothing. Only the thought, frick, it got me, right as the car connected with me. Then I opened my eyes and was lying on the side of the road. Everything in between is non-existent, not even blackness to speak of. It didn't happen to me, but my younger sister, 15 at the time, she was a passenger in a Polaris Ranger when the driver swerved into a ditch. She flew out and the Polaris landed on her legs. She laid there for over 2 hours waiting for a paramedic with a broken femur and her other ankle dangling off. Anyways, she lost a lot of blood and thought she was going to die, but she said she saw Jesus come to her and hold her hand and kiss her on the forehead while she was waiting for help to arrive. She tells that story to anyone who will listen. She seems to be happier now, less worried and mellow than before. Just seems to enjoy the moment and is more kind to everyone. I may be a little late for someone to see this, but here it goes. When I was 18 years old, I had major chest surgery due to an incident I had while being in the Army. I awoke after surgery only to realize I was not actually awake. I woke up to utter darkness. I could hear the voices around me talking about me praying I was going to get better. But the voices got quieter and the darkness diminished. A light started to appear. This light was no ordinary hospital light, lamp, the sun, or anything like that. The light was so bright, yet I couldn't look away. I felt it getting closer and closer, and then I heard a voice. It was my mother's. She was talking about me, talking about how I was crying. Then I felt it. The light was right there. If I would have stuck my hand out, I could have touched it. I could feel myself sobbing over what I was seeing, but I was unable to do anything. After a couple minutes of staring into the light, I finally found the courage to reach out to it. But when I went to grab it, I found myself waking up in my hospital bed with everyone's eyes focused on me. Now, I am not a religious man by any means, so I have considered the option of my dream happening due to the anesthetic. But this did not feel like a dream. It felt too real. I still see the darkness to this day. I was pretty dead after a car accident. Back when you could ride in the back of pickup trucks, we were T-boned in an intersection, and I went into the tunnel of light. Chose to come back because I was given a choice. I missed my family, friends, and my cats, so I came back. I remember the tunnel being a white gold color, very warm, friendly, and inviting. When I woke up in the street, I was bloody, cold, and in shock, but I knew what had happened a moment before. Chalk it up to extreme blood loss, or dopamine release, or what have you, but I know what I saw. What I got from it was that our perception of life is much like a radio, that is broadcasting one frequency you can hear, but actually broadcasting all the frequencies all the time, but we choose to only tune in to one. There is so much more to life and death than what we are told to believe. Be good to one another and yourself. It matters in the end. I was hit by a car head-on when I was in junior high. I don't know how fast was it, but I wrecked the car's hood and freaking flew a good 5 meters. Car also left skid marks. Now, even with the damage to the car, the police wrote this up as a side swept. Accident happened in a pedestrian lane in front of the school BTW. Anyway, I never felt the impact of the car. Everything just turned black. But I could discern my arms. I don't know, it's like I was floating. Then I was falling upwards towards a ball of light. Years later, I played Skyrim and, Meridia's Beacon. Dude, it's like that. Anyway, when I was nearly with it, I was suddenly rolling in the curb. As I groggily tried to stand up, my thought processes were, shit, I was hit by a car, fuck, there's dirt in my mouth, and what the fuck is that light? About 13 years ago, I fell into a retention pond in the middle of winter. I was wearing a down coat, and despite being a good swimmer, had a very hard time getting out. In fact, I barely made it back out. I got my upper torso out of the water and fell on the shore. From there until waking up in the ambulance, to the EMT saying they didn't have a pulse, I don't remember. I do remember, though, while I was out that I saw bright white mixed with memories of my uncle who had died several years earlier. At this point in my life, I was searching for religion and was a pretty shitty person. After I regained consciousness and yelled, "I'm alive!" I reflected upon my life choices for several weeks. I kept going back to the experience of near death. When I arrived at the hospital that day, my body temperature was around 50 degrees Fahrenheit. It took 5 hours to get my temperature up to normal, and the doctors were surprised I was still alive. Thinking about that and what I saw made me realize that it doesn't matter what religion I choose, I need to be a better person. It took a few years for the self-reflection and inner thoughts to take effect, but I ultimately decided upon a philosophy of living instead of a religion. I chose Taoism as a basis for my philosophy of life. A few years later, around 7 or 8 years ago, I started seeing everything around me as a basis for what others might call God. I pray, but usually to nature or to the sun, depending upon the circumstances. For me, everything is connected in some way, and it is through nature I have life. Life I should be thankful for. Afterlife is complicated for me still. I basically believe a large number of things can happen after we pass and leave our physical body. However, I am adamant that in some way our spirit remains, whether imprinted upon the land or in people's hearts, or both. Our body goes back to the earth, but our inner being, our true energy, or spirit remains to give back in what ways we can. I attempted suicide by gunshot just over 5 years ago. Was found by a co-worker who came to check on why I was late and got rushed to the local hospital and then flown via helicopter to a better hospital about a 30-minute drive away. Doctors claim that I died and was resuscitated 5 times during the commute. Spent about 5 months in and out of hospitals during recovery, and the whole time I had doctors telling me that I shouldn't be alive and that something out there decided that I still have a job to do on this blue marble. Hearing some of the best doctors in the region tell me that over and over again convinced me that there is a higher power out there. I was raised by Christians, but I can't bring myself to believe that what they say is completely correct. I believe that there is a power out there that cares about us and what we do, but in my opinion, they have a goal and know the one way that we will reach that goal for us, and they are content to let us do our own thing with him, her, it just nudging us in the right direction and only intervening when we really F up. My heart had stopped beating when I was in surgery and I was given compression. I flatlined on the table and I hate to say it, but I saw nothing but darkness. So, I was 17 and walking home from work when I was hit by a red-maroon Jeep Cherokee. I broke a bunch of bones, collapsed my right lung after it was punctured by broken bone, the whole bit. I remember dying on the helicopter. The hospital in my town was unequipped to manage the extent of my injuries. I remember looking up at the monitors and watching the various LEDs and such blink out or go flat. Then I found myself in nothing. More nothing than you can imagine, because it's so much nothing, and yet so much less, because it is nothing. I remember being on top of the hospital at the helipad and being handed off to the team there, and that's where I heard "dead for 3 minutes" for the first time. Anyway, not much in NDE. I died a second time, but I was already sedated for surgery when that one happened, so I remember nothing of that one. I was on my way to a school function and slid on black ice. My car went down a ravine and flipped the whole way down, 71 feet. Among the process of flipping, I dislocated a shoulder, tore my bicep, cracked my head open, had glass everywhere in my skin, and broke a finger. I then had to wait 40 minutes for the ambulance to arrive. During this period of waiting, I started to go into shock. I then started to lose vision and become very sleepy. I think this would have to be my closest experience to death, besides my appendix exploding. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed today's video, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Until next time, take care.